Says we're live. This is a pioneering experience into this new venture on StreamYard.com. Bugs in my apartment. Let's start. Welcome to wrong button. See, we're off to a great start. Saints on Cinema. That's who we are, and I am Tim Wild here with Ashley and Josh. Ashley didn't want to put her last name. She was want to keep it simple and tight. That's okay. We've not been around for a little while. It's been let's see, there's been some events in the world. Ukraine went to war. Johnny Depp's been liberated and gas prices are up, and I had COVID. Anything else earth shattering that has happened? My daughter's just getting home. I don't know. It's a whole new world we're living in at this time, but one thing has remained, that we still watch movies, we still love movies, and we still argue about movies. And we're here today to give a show to catch you up on what we've been watching and what's going on with the show, where we are, and give you an awesome hot topic that if you were fast enough with your eyes, you would have already seen. And we'll reintroduce that in just a second. But first, how are you guys doing? It's been a while. I looked. Our last episode was me and you guys weren't even there arguing about Batman. Like when the Batman came out with Steve Jobber. That was a long time. That was March, I think. That's been a while. But you guys are good? Happy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Always. Very.
Yeah, it's like we've never left.
Yeah. No, it's funny. There's been a lot of movies that have come out, and I'm trying to think of what they all are that we haven't even like talked about.
You know, and the big ones that we would have talked about, I haven't seen. Like, I haven't been to the last few things. Thor came out. The new Jurassic Park came out. Elvis came out. These are all big ones that I should have seen. You didn't see Elvis? You saw the other two.
I haven't seen Elvis, though, but I really want to see it. And I want to see it in the theater. Yeah.
I do, too. Spider-Man Home Far Away. I think that came out. I don't think we did a discussion on that one.
Or Doctor Strange. We didn't do Doctor Strange.
I did a Doctor Strange on my channel. I've done a couple of these on my channel, but not the most recent stuff. So You're right. We've been, we've just been really busy, but we're going to get back on the ball, set a routine. Really, scheduling has been the biggest issue. We're going to do our best, but we found a new platform. Well, it's the same platform, but a new, what do they call it? Streaming service to execute our platform. And we're going to see if this really works out, because it eliminates all editing for me. I get to edit right here and mess up like I already did live in front of our audience. And you just can't see us because I didn't let it be public because I'm nervous. It's been a while. Anyway, Ashley, how about you? Do you even have a chance to watch anything?
No.
I didn't think so. Okay.
But I have my yoga certification now. So
yeah.
Yes.
She's an official yogi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's
not like the bear. Zing.
Super active with a lot of that stuff, and she's always posting her motivational stuff on Facebook and everything. But she's active, busy woman. Just no time for current movies. But I did want to ask, because I had just two things I really wanted to mention. But I do want to do a really, really short portion of what have you guys been personal study. That's what we called it. Man, we're rusty. Personal study. I just want to know if there's anything you guys have been watching on your own time besides those big movies, or if there's anything you guys want to mention to kind of catch us up on where your film focus has been, or television.
I'm trying to catch up on Queer Eye on Netflix, because that's my happy show.
Queer Eye, Straight Guy. Did you watch the old one?
I did. I watched the old one back when it was like weekly.
In the 90s.
And when they remade it with the new cast, I freaked out and I was all excited. And the new season came out not like forever long ago, but I didn't get to watch it. So now I'm like, whenever I get a chance to watch something, I pull it up. It's like on my phone. Right. I'm like, hey, I have 15 minutes.
I'm really curious. Is it like the exact same format? Is it like feel like the exact same show just with a new cast? It's all different.
So much better, and like I cry every episode. Like
what it's cry about.
It's happy. It's emotional and happy. It is so good, and like it's all about like people like loving each other and all the happy things. It's amazing.
I just love how Tim is like shocked like this. You cried at the Alf Christmas special. I don't understand if you're judging anybody about their crying situations. I'm just over here and I'm like, I don't even cry at funerals.
That's like someone reading cosmetology and like being like, oh. I guess it's like, I mean, you can watch those.
You cried at a Muppet Reject TV show.
Shut your face. Oh, speaking of Muppets, I just found. Well, I was gonna say I found Crank Yankers on. I just subscribed to what is it? Whatever the Halo show is on. I was trying to find it for Paramount. Their service. I'm just doing the trial run. Crank Yankers is on there, and I was like, "Holy cow, that's crazy!"
That's so ridiculous.
Backyardigans, or Beavis and Butthead, like all this. I was like, "There's such a big range."
So that's one. My son and I haven't gotten to it yet, but we are gonna do Beavis and Butthead do the universe.
The new one. I'm curious about it.
Yeah. I've heard really good things, and so I'm like, from people who are my generation of people, they just say it's really funny. I've heard that what the I haven't seen it. I haven't even seen a trailer for it, but I've heard the premise is that Beavis and Butthead from the 90s get like teleported into our time. So it's and so I'm like, oh, that does seem to have that has potential in my mind.
Yeah.
Something that could be really funny.
Daria was better. I'm just saying.
What's better?
Daria. It was
way of course. I live with Daria. My 13-year-old daughter is Daria. So I need to watch that show and get PTSD.
I don't know what that is. I was talking to someone recently and telling me about what they watch, and they were telling me all these kids shows and everything they mentioned. I was like, I have no idea.
Daria was a spinoff in the 90s of Beavis and Butthead.
Oh,
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I thought the King of the Hill, that was one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's the only one I knew about.
Yeah, Daria was just like that. Yeah.
I wasn't a big.
I'm surprised it was hugely popular.
Mm-hmm.
See, I didn't have MTV. I didn't really watch Beavis and Butthead. The clips I saw here and there, because this was pre-internet and everything, I saw like from bootleg copies or people would show me, here and there. There was a video game that was really funny, but like I didn't. And Beavis and Butthead Do America, I went and saw that in the theater with my friends, and it was hilarious. But when I tried to watch one episode today, and I was like, it's rough. It's a rough format. I mean, the music videos are so dated. It's hard to watch those anyway. But you're just watching their little skits, and they're so short. And
that's not because of now, though. It was hard to sit through the music videos during Beavis and Butthead when the show was going on. Like some of my friends who would like record Beavis and Butthead on VHS tapes. Kids, back in the day, we had these things.
Yeah.
So we would record these VHS tapes. They would pause the recording during the music videos and only play like the cartoon parts because they just there were very few times where the music video stuff was actually funny. So anyway, as far as what I have been watching, I have been watching 2 seasons of Married at First Sight. And I wish I could blame anyone else for the reason why I'm watching it, but it's really me. I just enjoy the train wreck.
It's a great show.
It's so good. It's so good to watch. It's such an interesting experiment, and watching all these different couples. First of all, just spoiler alert: if you don't Google anybody until after the show is over, because then you'll end up getting spoilers and stuff like that. Because I'm far behind. Like, this is stuff that's been 2 years ago. I'm watching on Hulu and stuff. But the interesting thing was, the last season I watched, it started before the pandemic, but went through the pandemic. So it was like kind of interesting to watch these people as like the pandemic was starting and hearing what they were saying as it was starting. Like hearing people be like, man, people are freaking out about this coronavirus thing. I've heard it's just a bad old, like stuff like that. And then all of a sudden everyone going like, I don't know what's going on. The whole world is shut down. What's going on? We're stuck. And it was so great to watch these people who were like, they're stuck in quarantine with these people that they married like 3 weeks ago and had never known. And you're like, oh man, I remember when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is going to be so great. Oh, can't wait to watch the fireworks. And it was.
Have you seen a lot of movies that take place during the lockdown, and that actually show the world we've been in the last 2 years with like people walking around in masks and quarantining and social distancing and everything. Because there's some elements of shows have put that in there, but everyone expected it was just going to blow up. That'd be a whole new genre. Would be like the COVID genre. I haven't seen much.
I haven't seen anything at all. That was what was so interesting about watching it. Was I thought it was cool to watch, just kind of reminisce on what we all were like at the beginning of this, because they would go through and they were stuck together. You know, the show is usually an 8-week show, right? And then but it ended up being like 4.5 months before they could finish the experiment, you know. And so they were just sitting there and they were like, you know, they would do these little videos of themselves and they'd just be like, we thought this was going to be 2 weeks. Like one of, you know, some of them couldn't go back to work. One was like a nurse, right? So she was working in the middle of it. And like one couple, they ended up like breaking up. The final straw was that she was a nurse and decided to go visit family, you know, and he was freaking out because he's like, I don't think that's a great idea. And so she ended up leaving and going and seeing family for a week. And so he moved out of their apartment and moved back into his own place because he was so mad. You know what I mean? Like that she would do that and all that. And, you know, you look back now and you're like, you know, now you're like, well, that wasn't really that big of a deal. You know what I mean? Like,
well, there was when Borat 2 was being filmed and it was secret that it was being produced. It was just him was messing with these two redneck guys. I don't know if you saw Borat 2, the two guys he ended up shacked up with for a couple months. Like, and he did the crew and him. It was during when the lockdown happened. He just ran with it. And they had access to the internet just in this cabin with these two rednecks, and they were like very, very like anti-Hillary, pro-Trump guys, anti-vaxxers and stuff. And they were buying into all that stuff about how that Hillary was like that she drank the blood of children, all that stuff. They went way into all that stuff, and he just filmed it and just captured it in Borat's normal method. It was really funny. But
you know what was funny was that I heard a podcast with him, or an interview with him, where he was talking about that, and he's like, this was the longest time that he'd ever had to like be undercover. Or like he was 24/7 undercover doing this thing for like months. And it was really interesting to hear him say, he's like, he goes, they were actually really nice guys. Like he goes, they were like nice. He's like, they were actually really good guys. They just but they were just all messed up.
In the editing and Borat, in the editing, they usually present it like to be as like big jerks as you can imagine, like make them look horrible, but to exploit them. But really, that's not really how it was, because there's, you know, we've seen enough in the last 6 years that's kind of, there's a lot of people like that.
Well, and that's the thing that I thought was interesting was him saying like, you know, these guys were really nice guys that just got stuck in like internet rabbit holes. You know, and that's where they got, you know, they kind of got propaganda from that. So interesting.
Anything else you've been watching, Josh?
You know, I'm trying to think if there's anything. I've been doing a lot of like my kids and I like to do little movie nights here and there, especially my youngest daughter Lexi, and we've been doing a lot of the classics. So we watched like Clueless, Dirty Dancing, you know, things like that. And she's really enjoyed that. I watched with both my daughters. I've watched How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. You watched
Dirty Dancing with your daughter?
Yeah. Okay. I know. Yeah, it's an interesting story. You sit there, and you're like, yeah, I don't think I like the idea of you doing something like this.
It's a good show stuff in there, isn't there?
What's that?
Isn't there like rape and stuff? Like, isn't there like
there's no rape in it. There's a whole abortion situation in it, and stuff like that. And I mean, there's an older man with a 16-year-old girl. That's a little questionable, you know. But
it leads to good conversation.
Conversation. Yeah, it's like teaching moments come out of the film. Let's discuss this. Yeah.
Here's something interesting that, and I don't know how they studied this, so don't question me about it. I don't know. I just remember hearing this in a psychology class and reading about it later. So studies have actually shown, according at least these studies back when I took this class over a decade ago, that watching there was a big section talking about the effect of violent movies, right, on people and on kids, and they found that there were 3 groups of people. There are the groups of people who their kids just got to watch the violent movies. Obviously, that didn't turn out real well. And then there were the kids who didn't watch the movies, and those outcomes were kind of mixed. But they found that the best outcomes were like the most well-adjusted kids were the ones who watched the things, and then their parents had conversations with them afterwards. So they'd have conversations like, okay, so like you saw this movie where this person never had to reload their gun and like could just keep shooting, and like kind of like a Last Action Hero thing, right? Like kind of a joke about it, and say now you realize that in real life, if that guy had fallen for tried to jump off a 30-foot building and then landed, probably would have been seriously hurt, if not killed.
Right.
And having those conversations gave them a real life view of it. And I think I kind of do like, I think for me, I watched all of these movies really, really young. So, I mean, I was probably 7, 8 the first time I saw Dirty Dancing. I don't know why, but I did. I mean, I think it was 7 when I watched like Nightmare on Elm Street.
Who were you watching that with? Like, how did that come up in your casual viewing as a kid? That's weird.
I don't know. I think it was either watching it with my aunt or with my mom. I'm not really
saw
sure.
all of my horror movies were because of my aunt. She didn't want to watch the
horror movies.
The horror movies. Yeah, the horror movies were always at my aunt's. Right. I would stay at my aunt's house, and she would rent me a movie, and I'd watch it, and I'd have nightmares. But yeah, so anyway, I think I have just like fond memories of watching these movies when I was a kid, and then I watch them with my kids, and I'm like, I did the same thing with Goonies. I remember watching. I'm like, I don't remember there being this much cussing in Goonies. You know what I mean? I was like, this is really bad. You know what I mean? Like, I probably shouldn't watch, or like, we're going to talk. I mean, it's actually very fitting because it seems like I've been watching a lot of chick flicks with my daughters recently. But yeah, so I've been kind of going back and watching old stuff. And if I'm being honest, I think I'm getting really burnt out. No, I'm getting burnt out on like CGI films, like all the Marvel movies, all the action movies, all of the like, I understand that those are the movies that draw people to the theater now. So that's why but it seems like it's all these big budget Jurassic Park, Marvel, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, some other superhero you've never heard of.
Now you're starting to see Martin Scorsese's whole debate about that and why he was under fire for talking about how those aren't like real movies, and then now everyone's getting fatigued, and now they're like, back then they were really defending them, and I disagree that they weren't films, things like Endgame and stuff. There was some really masterful stuff in those cartoon and comic book movies, but he's got a point. I'm sorry to say. I've been saying it for a while.
So I have actually been spending a lot of time going back through like 80s and 90s movies and showing my kids like these are really well done movies, and I almost to the point where I really I've had some conversations recently where I've said I think that the 90s may have been, in my opinion, and this may just be me being an old dad now, but I really think that the 90s may have been the last true like generation of good strong pop culture. Like I don't know of anybody who talks about like I just don't see nobody's talking about doing 2000s parties. You know what I mean? Or like, you know what I mean? It's 2022. If you think about it, in the 90s, when I was a kid, we would have 80s parties. You know what I mean? Like we would have 80s parties when I was in like
80s parties. Oh, I see. You're talking about like work parties and stuff or school.
Yeah, like think about it. The Wedding Singer came out. The Wedding Singer came out in 1998. So like 14 years later from the 80s when it was set, 14, 15 years. I don't see anybody doing a movie about 2006, you know what I mean? Or 2007. I just don't think that the pop culture is really there. So
it's also like that still was just a decade ago. Back in the 90s, they were, I don't know, I guess they were kind of doing 80s stuff, but there was such a blend between 80s and 90s that like when that 70s show came out, for example, that was a generational skip for 20 years. That's a generation that like it was like it's this looking back at a previous era that like for us now like 80s and 90s that was 20 years ago, but like the 2000s and the whatever the tenses are like it's just so recent that we're still in that world, and not enough has really changed in that world, honestly.
Yeah, but think about it, right? Think about what you just said. So like it was like the mid to late 90s that 70s show came out. So 20 years. You know what I mean? We're now at 2022. Nobody's talking about a 2002 show. You know what I mean? No one's talking about a 2005 show. So that's what I'm saying, is that I think that like the 90s may have been, at least right now, the last real good pop culture. We had things like MTV, and we had things, I mean, well, unfortunately or fortunately, there were some fun things that came out of MTV. Without MTV, reality TV would not be a thing, because it started.
You'd be better off if that was the case. I know you'd be disappointed personally.
I would. I love the train wreck of real TV. But like the 90s is where The Real World came out.
I love The Real World.
Right. That's where Ricky Lake and Maury Povich and Jerry Springer all became like hugely popular. I mean, we had the grunge era. We had mall punk. Remember mall punk? I mean, that kind of became a bigger thing in the early 2000s.
You're not selling me on how great this era was at all with these examples.
But alternative rock became really big. Hard rock for a while with Metallica and Guns N' Roses, like in the early 90s. That was it got us out of all that hair band stuff and into like this new. I mean, it was like a trend, and I don't see any trends right now that are like in music or movies other than big budget crazy stuff and social media. I think all the pop culture trends have kind of fallen into social media. I mean, here we are, right? So,
well, that was our episode of Saints on Music. If there's any other
anyway, what I'm saying, my point in that, like my long-winded point is I've been spending a lot of time showing my kids classic 80s and 90s movies, and they're really enjoying them, and they're quoting them, and they like want to watch them. Like the last time I watched, my daughter Lexi came up to me and she's just like, I want to lay in your bed and watch a movie with you. And I'm like, all right, well, what do you want to watch? And she said, I want to watch Clueless. And I was like, I'm so proud. Yes, let's watch Clueless.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I've had similar experiences with my boys, as my kids have resisted movies as I've tried to encourage or require them and force them to watch them. They finally come around where it might be an earshot, so I gotta say this quietly, but they might, or sometimes they'll come out and say, hey, let's rewatch that movie, when at the time when I made them watch it, they were miserable and pissing and moaning, but now they're like, hey, can we watch that movie? Because I was like, I told you it was good, I know you thought it was good, you just had to put up the act and make me think you didn't like it just because you were being stubborn. And your kids weren't doing that, but that's what my kids do. But I love when they come in and say, hey, let's watch this, and it's something I introduced to them. Awesome. Yeah. All right, real quick, can I just say I've discovered two shows that speaking of 80s and 90s, that I didn't realize were so good. And the first one is Josh, I know you're a big Cheers fan. I popped on Frasier. And I know it was hugely successful. I remember my mom and my brother watched it when I was like in high school and stuff. And I was like, I don't even care. It was so boring. All the sophistication and the high class uppity stuff. And like the brother, I didn't know if he was gay or not. And because this was like the Will and Grace kind of era too. And I was like, I don't know what was going on. I couldn't understand the conversation as a high school kid. I was like, couldn't follow it, didn't understand. And I thought Dr. Crane was the most boring character ever. That's why I thought it was brilliant casting when he was cast as the Beast in X-Men. I was like, oh, a boring scientific British guy or a guy with a cool accent. That's perfect for Beast. And then he was great in X-Men, even though that movie sucked. But it's good. It's really funny. I get genuine laughs out of like every episode. I'm like, halfway through the first season, and it's like, 30 seasons long. But I love it. I think it's so well written. It's just hilarious. And there's only 4 characters. Every episode is like a really simple bottleneck episode, either in his sound studio or in the or the radio station or his apartment. But it's fantastic. Did you guys watch that back in the day?
I didn't watch it faithfully, but I did watch it.
What did you say, Josh?
I said I never really watched it. My dad watched it because he was a huge Cheers fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's the thing. My brother, my mom didn't watch Cheers. My aunt did, but they didn't watch Cheers. And that's the thing. And Josh, I got into Cheers a few years ago. We were talking about that, but like even watching Frasier on Cheers, I was never like, oh, I would love a series with this guy. I was like, this is like the most boring, and he's fine in the show with the other cast. But I was like, that would be so boring watching him.
I wish they would have done like a Norman
Yes, yeah.
Norman Cliff spinoff, but where would they have gone with that? You know what I mean?
It wouldn't matter. They're the best. Anyway, the other show I discovered, and I don't care what you can judge me all you want, The Golden Girls. The Golden Girls is so funny. It is so good. It's clever. And I heard some dialogue about stuff about the Golden Girls after Betty White died, and another thing that happened since we recorded. And then I was listening to an old radio show, Opie and Anthony. I was listening to old shows with them, and they were talking about when Estelle Getty died. And then they were talking about the Golden Girls. I was like, is this show good? I mean, is it really funny? Because they were defending it that it was actually funny. So I went and I watched a few, and I was like, holy cow, this is hilarious. Like, it's so well written. As a kid, my mom watched Golden Girls, but it was such a boring old show. I mean, with old people. And I was just like, I don't care about what they have to say. There's no interest. There's no, their sexuality and their golden years and stuff. I was like, no, thank you. I didn't even care. But they loved it.
Great show.
I gotta say though, as much as I think every character is funny, the dialogue is really good. It's good scripting. I can't stand the opening song. I can't handle I just skip it, and I can handle 80s theme songs, but that whole "thank you for being a friend" nonsense. Oh, it's so obnoxious.
But it's so iconic.
It is, and I get it, but I can't handle it. Oh, anyway,
so that's another thing. Just going on my little soapbox rant here. That is another thing. I just had a conversation with my oldest daughter. We were talking about TV shows, and she brought up, she was like, was there ever a show that you remember watching as a kid? And I was like, yes, we used to always get together and watch shows that came on. And I was like, because it was so different. Like, you didn't have DVR. You had to sit down and watch it. If you wanted to see the show, you had to watch it or figure out a way to record it, because and I was like, so there were lots of shows. And I was like, and we were talking about some of the shows that I have actually introduced them to that are streaming, like, The Simpsons and Roseanne, and it started with, I said, I remember how it started. It started, we were in the car, and I said, so TGIF, and she looked at me and didn't know what that meant. I was like, you know what that meant? And she's like, wasn't that a restaurant? And I go, no. And I explained how, like, these shows that she actually streams now, like Full House and Family Matters and Perfect Strangers, and they haven't watched Perfect.
Perfect Strangers is great. I watched that a few years ago when I got it. I was
Valky Bartakamus is so good.
So good. Yeah.
Ashley's looking like she doesn't know what we're talking about.
I'm trying to remember what that one is.
It's the two cousins. Yeah, it's the two cousins, Balky Bartakamus, who came over from I can't remember the name of the
not Barbados. So he said back in that's gonna kill me. He would always compare it back to his island, and he always talk about culture or some saying or phrase or something terrible.
And his cousin desperately wanted to be a journalist, and he just lied all the time.
He wanted to be a photographer.
They wanted to be a photographer they lived in Chicago in an apartment, and it was really funny. Balky was really great, but anyway, so yeah, that's another thing. Like
Mipos, he's from Mipos.
Mipos, yeah, that's right. And so anyway, but the thing is that I noticed that I kind of sometimes there are certain things from my childhood that I wish my kids could experience, like going to movie stores and picking out a rental, or
Blockbuster,
right, or even like having something where the whole family would come together at 8:00 at night and sit down and watch a 30-minute show together. My family used to do that. As dysfunctional as we were, we always had, like, on a Sunday night, we sat down for The Simpsons at 8 p.m. You know what I mean? On the Sunday night, we would watch it every week. Or, I remember the final episodes of certain shows, and we all were like, we religiously watched The Wonder Years when I was a kid. I mean, every week we were there together watching that show. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that, as cool as it is that we can stream anything anytime we want now, we just kind of lost some of those things that kind of brought us all together. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
All my kids have their own, profile on Netflix and watch their own shows, and they don't watch anything.
That's the thing too. Is I was listening to a podcast that was talking about the history of television and stuff, and they were talking about how like once the television was invented, that became like the centerpiece of the family. Not because they were like junkies like we are now, but it's just that was just something that it was an event. It was a gathering because there weren't video stores, there weren't rentals, there was no internet, there wasn't even reruns. Didn't even exist for a while. Like you just sat there and watched whatever the show was, and it aired that one time, and then that was it. You may never see it again. Later on, I can't remember. It was like the 50s. It might have been I Love Lucy, but I don't think so. Or decided like we should make or show them again and have reruns, and then television became like a bigger thing. But like it used to just be that because it'd be a one-time like a live performance, So anyway, all right. Well, that was exciting. There's a lot of stuff that'll be coming now. A lot of things to catch up on that as I watch some of these movies that we've not done reviews in future episodes, but we aren't doing a top 7 list because those are a little lengthier episodes. We can go into our thoughts about them, or if Ashley actually has some time to go to a movie theater, or if I have time. I don't either. That's been part of it. I have so many movie tickets like on my account at Cinemark, and I have free movie tickets I just got for IMAX from work, and I'm like, I don't know when I'll go. And now, like, I missed everything big coming out that I really wanted to see. So whatever, which was not Thor or Jurassic Park, by the way. Anyway, so let's get into our topic. We have a very special episode. Just want to say, I have to clarify one point. When we were trying to decide what we wanted to jump back in with, the topic of top 7 Arnold movies came up. Arnold Schwarzenegger, that is.
Yes.
Not Tom Arnold. I couldn't think of another Arnold.
Are there 7 Tom Arnold movies that you know?
Yeah, one of the best Arnold Schwarzenegger movies did have Tom Arnold in it.
That's a good point. That is a good point.
Anyway, I can't remember how it came up. I was messaging. I think it was both of you, but it may have been you. No, it was both of you. And one of you referenced something about Commando. Oh, Ashley sent a meme. It was a meme of Commando or a GIF. And I was like, okay, but it's talking about good movie, or as speaking of bad movies, and then you got so defensive. But I want to clarify. This is all I'm going to say. Commando is a fun and an awesome movie, but it's missing the mark for great Arnold movies because I'm just going to say the only way it would be better if it maintained a good violent action 80s Arnold movie tone like Predator. With all that goofy stuff, the girlfriend and Solid hanging off the leg, all that weird stuff, all the one-liners and everything. Predator had one one-liner, the stick around, but like Commando was nothing but that cheesy, goofy stuff, and everyone makes fun of it. And Bennett was the most boring villain of any Arnold movie ever, and that knife fight at the end was awesome, but holy cow. And blow up some steam, Bennett. Like, oh, come on. Take all that cheesy stuff. That was what made that movie fun and awesome. But imagine Commando, that same plot line, only gritty and just as graphic, but Predator tone. And I'm big on tone. I'm just saying that's the only reason it's not a great movie, but it's a fun movie. That's all I wanted to say about that. It would have been on my list, but you got very protective of Commando when I mocked it. So anyway, so I had to clarify that. But we didn't decide to do Arnold because we'll wait till that's topical when he does something like run for president or something, which he can't do.
Yeah. So I'm glad that we had that conversation now.
Me too.
Yeah, clarify it. It's very important because I didn't want Ashley thinking I don't have good taste in Arnold movies because I do. And sorry, Josh, Last Action Hero would not be on that list. It's a terrible movie.
Are dead wrong. You are dead wrong.
All right.
Last Action Hero is a classic. Ugh.
It's terrible. All right. So our choice of the category today is top 7 chick flicks.
Oh, really
if Ashley wasn't able to make it tonight, we would have bailed on this episode. But I promised on Facebook we were doing it, so we would have to do it sometime.
You mean you didn't want to have 2 middle-aged white guys talking about the best chick flicks alone by ourselves? Might as well done top 7 African American movies while we
right. That'll be next month. All right. before we get into our list, and we're not going to go through and do a whole bio on what the episode or what the movies are about. I think most of these that we picked are pretty obvious. There's going to be a few that we're going to have a little deliberation on, and all I'm going to say about mine are just why I picked them. Everyone's going to know all my movies. There's going to be some controversy, as Josh has already foreseen. But before we go into our list, I want to mention a few that people put on our Facebook page. Dari Thomas, and some of these are going to be on your list. I know because I already know your list because, spoiler alert, you guys didn't have time to put together your slides and trying this new format. We needed slides to make it nice and pretty and consistent. So I did it for both of you. So I know everyone's movies, even though I don't know everyone's movies, but I know what they are.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. So Dari Thomas, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. All I'm going to say about that. And now if any of these movies are on your list, let's not talk about why you would have or didn't put them on your list. I just want to mention about this movie. I don't like that movie. It was dumb. That was a very stereotypical like chick flick. And I got to say, we're going to define before we do each of our lists, what we chose or how we define chick flick, because there's chick flick and there's romantic comedy. That is a romantic comedy and is not a good chick flick for me, but chicks like that. That's a great romantic comedy, I'll say. But it's not one it's forgettable and dumb. I didn't like it. Not criticizing Dari's choice because I know other people love that movie. And those people can defend it all they want in the comments. I don't care. Far and Away. I don't know what that is. What is that?
Far and Away?
Yeah, I didn't know it.
I love that movie.
What is it? I don't know what it is.
Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise.
Really?
Yes.
Is this where they met and fell in love? Because they were married.
Nah, not for this. Didn't they meet on this movie set?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
No, I think they met at Days of Thunder.
Oh, that's right.
But this was the movie. This was the movie where I think it was their first one after they got together.
That's right.
Well, there's
he was a boxer, and there was like this thing in the end where they gotta like race for property.
Okay.
It's a great movie.
Is it a romantic comedy or is it one of those like those mushy romancy movies?
It's a mushy romance movie. It's not fun.
It's not fun. The Story of Us.
You don't like that movie?
Okay, we'll argue about it in a second.
Okay, fine.
The Story of Us. What is that one? That was Dari's third one that she picked.
That has Michelle Pfeiffer and Bruce Willis.
Oh.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
How old is it? 90s?
It's older. It's 90s. I have it. I've never watched it, but I own it.
I have like 100 of those.
I have a lot of those.
Yeah. All right, Eric Chaffee.
Yeah.
Chafee. Sorry, didn't know him. My Big Fat Geek Wedding. He put that on there, and I gotta say, I put this on Facebook. My Big Fat Greek Wedding was like the first time I saw a chick flick in the theater on a date, and I was entertained. I laughed through it. It was very hilarious, and I thought it was a good story, good heart feels. So I'll condone that one. Thoughts on that one, Ashley? Have you seen it or no?
I've seen it.
But not memorable, apparently. Josh?
I'm not saying anything.
So I know this is a big classic for a lot of people. I don't remember watching it.
Really?
So I don't know if I have, or maybe I just haven't.
It's funny. It is really funny.
Yeah, I've heard it's really funny. I just don't remember watching it.
It's just about I think it's his family's Greek. And he meets this girl, and it's all about their hilarious Greek stereotype stuff, their food and their culture and behavior and stuff, and they're accepting her, or maybe it's him being accepted by her family. I can't remember.
It was her family.
Her family, but it was hilarious.
I just remember, I thought it was fun. I was like, the family's fun. But I remember thinking it was, like, so weird how she was so excited that their, like, family wedding present was like, you get to move next door because we bought the house and you can never leave and we're going to watch you all the time. And I was like, ugh.
You're like, ew. Okay, just so we know, I'm going to make a little list because I'm going to watch a few of these too, and I'm just going to do a little follow-up next in the coming week for my personal study. I am going to watch that one, and I'll let both of you pick them. If you have a movie on your list that I haven't seen, I'm going to let each of you insist that I watch one of your movies, either to defend it because I didn't like it the first time, or I've never seen it. You got to tell me. But I'm going to watch My Big Fat Greek Wedding to remember why I liked it. He also picked Moonstruck. Have you guys seen Moonstruck?
I
Oh,
remember
yes.
seeing that. That was a long time ago. but I remember
That was a
seeing
long time ago.
that.
That was old Cher and
Yes.
Bruce Willis, young Bruce. No, Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage. It was Nicolas Cage.
I just
Right?
remember Cher. I remember Cher and like the movie
Nice.
poster of like her. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I swore it was
that
Nicolas
movie
Cage.
poster. Yeah, that sticks in your mind, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
It's
does.
Nicolas Cage. Yeah.
Like a
Yeah,
lot
Nicolas
of
Cage.
movies have like great movie posters.
They really do.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's that was a funny movie, but I don't remember it. When I worked at Kmart as a kid, we'd have a few movies that were open in the break room that were old ones that were displaying television stuff and electronics, and that one was back there and people watched it. And I just remember the scene where he was like all white trash and met her and and they were just fighting with each other and it was really pathetic. That's the only thing I remember about it. Anyway, Eric's last one is Sleepless in Seattle. Huge, popular, classic. And here's my confession: I've never seen it. I've never seen some of the biggest chick flicks that are most popular. I've never seen that because either they weren't relevant when I was dating a girl, or they came out after my divorce. I just didn't watch them. So there's that one. Robin Bear. Return to Me. That's the one where the guy has a heart transplant or something, right?
No. Oh my, get this right, Tim. That's a great movie.
Okay, what is it? Remind me.
So she like David Duchovny and or whatever her name is, I forget. But like, so they're like super in love, and then she's like done this thing to help the animals because she's amazing, and then she like dies, and her heart goes into someone else, right? Minnie Driver, and yeah, and then like the heartbeat, like he's devastated.
I thought his wife died in an accident or something, donated her heart, and then he had a new girlfriend who needed a heart, and his wife's heart saved her life, and so she returned to him.
They bump paths and she felt something, and then they meet in a restaurant, and it's such a good movie.
I watched that when I was
one of like the best lines in that movie. One of the best
lines.
Yeah.
So that one's a sappy movie, right? That's not a romantic comedy.
No, it's no.
I'm just sitting here. I just want to throw this out here right now. I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, there was one movie that I can't believe I forgot that should be on my list.
I had so many of those.
I'm so angry that I didn't put it on my list. I'm going to talk about it in my honorable mentions. Okay. I don't know where it would go, but it would be on my list if I had thought about it when I put this list together.
This one?
No, not this one. A different movie. But anyway,
all right.
It has nothing
we did have a movie that was suggested by you that was not on your actual list that you submitted to me, Josh, and that was No Holds Barred, one of the greatest romance stories of all time.
That was a great love story.
Yeah, between Zeus and
Ripper. He cries. Yeah. An Oscar-winning performance.
Who cries? The Dookie guy? The limo driver?
Hulk Hogan cries in that movie when his brother was beat up by Zeus and he sits in the hospital.
Yeah, he does.
Cries.
Did you say award-winning? Oh boy!
I said it should be Oscar-worthy performance by Hulk Hogan, basically playing himself.
All right, yeah, 100%. All right, we are definitely gonna
hold on before we go off from No Holds Barred. I just want to say that weekend, No Holds Barred and Dead Poet Society released on the same day, and I went and saw No Holds Barred, and you know what? I made the right decision.
Yes, you did.
For a theater movie, of course. I wouldn't want to see that in the theater. That's what I'm going to make my kids watch, by the way.
But yeah, I have to. By the way,
I'm going to.
The back then though, I think I would have seen Dead Poet Society in the theater because we had a theater here, Birdcage Cinema. There was $1 movie, and it was like right before they'd go release to like Blockbuster or whatever. They would go to the Birdcage Cinema and you'd pay $1 to go see it. And I saw so many movies I wouldn't have seen in the theater otherwise. I really think I credit that theater for being the one that made me really fall in love with going to the movies.
Right.
I saw so many great movies. All those
Is it still up or no?
No.
Yeah.
My favorite movie theaters are all torn down.
Yeah, I know Birdcage was a great place. Me and my friends, when we were in high school, we would go there all the time. And then they'd also do the midnight movies.
Yes.
Which were great, where you'd see like Rocky Horror Picture Show or Army of Darkness. And so great.
All right. All right,
Anyway.
that was a fun digression, but okay, those
I'm
are our.
I'm the one steering the conversation all sorts of places this week.
That's all right.
For years.
Those are our Facebook suggestions. So in the future, if you have comments and you want us to either reveal that I've never seen your movie or tell you why it's a bad choice like Josh's, then in the future chime in on our Facebook or follow us on Facebook so you can get that information. I did have a few people send me personal messages, but since I didn't post it publicly, I'm not going to talk about their options publicly. But those conversations led into full context reveals of why I picked what I picked, and it helped me process my list. So let's get into our list. I'm going to say who wants to go first. I have all three of your lists right here. Whoever wants to lead, we can lead. Or if you guys want me to go first,
let's make Tim lead, because I have a feeling like, let's just make Tim lead, because I can't wait to hear, like, I just watched the Golden Girls romantic comedy show. He's like the Wizard. Oh, I also want to throw this out there right now. I'm just going to throw this out before anyone puts their list out. If anybody puts The Princess Bride on their list as a chick flick, I'm going to be very angry. Okay, move on.
I can say no one did, but that was something that a friend of mine sent to me, and I was like, hold on. Princess Buttercup is the most unappealing and dry and boring character of almost any movie ever. And that's what,
anyway.
That romance is so one-sided. All she does is nag, and she did cheat on him. She didn't wait along, and she was just depressed, suicidal, terrible character.
Don't you ever accuse Princess Buttercup of cheating. She thought he was dead.
And how long did he wait for her? Was it a week for the respect for the dead, or was it immediate? I can't remember.
That's a great line.
That would have been great if I remembered it. That would have been smooth. All right, Tim's top 7 chick flicks. I almost decided, or I couldn't decide if flicks was with an X to be cool, or if it's flicks. So I just put flicks because I didn't want Netflix.
It works the way chick is spelled, so it's perfect.
All right. Okay, number 7.
Oh, come on.
Nope. I have explanations. And no, they're not all weird like this. I have real choices, and I decided that I picked something that fits every criteria for what a chick flick is. And Braveheart, I'm sorry, the underlying story, the entirety of the story is about a girl. Even the whole thing about freedom is his freedom to have been married to a girl, to have been able to fall in love and have a relationship with a girl, to raise kids with the girl, and he fell in love with the queen. The entire foundation of that movie is all about the romance of a guy and a girl. And to beat that out, every single girl I've ever watched that movie with was just fawning over Mel Gibson. So they're excited about that. They're just touched because of the love and the romance and everything. Meanwhile, the guys can just enjoy the manslaughter and the skilts and the sword fighting and the gore and the violence and all that exciting stuff that they can put up with it, making it almost the perfect chick flick, because it's also a long movie. So if you're in a theater on a date and you're cuddling up, you have a long time to cuddle up with a girl and kiss or whatever you're doing, watching a very long movie that they're happy to be watching it with you. Because what other movie are you going to be able to watch with all that grotesque violence with a girl and her not being uncomfortable? No other movie, but because it's Mel Gibson in his prime and it's all about love. So I'm sorry, it's an ideal chick flick. Arguments?
Yeah, because I know I really want to cuddle with a girl while Mel Gibson's being drawn and quartered. Yes. Ashley, you had your hand raised. You had your hand raised. Hold on. Ashley had her hand raised. Let's hear what she has to say about it.
I was just saying there's plenty of movies that a girl, would like watching that has violence and everything else. So you cannot be saying
they're
that.
Not all as awesome as you, Ashley. And I'm not trying to be sexist. I'm just saying that in my experience in high school, this came out when I was in high school. In fact, this movie is the very first movie stub I have. I have every movie stub since Braveheart, of every movie I've seen in the theater, over 300 of them. And I remember watching a friend's group party and stuff, and just the girls loved this movie. And you can't say that. And I was telling someone, they said, well, Gladiator too. I'm like, not really, because Gladiator
I love
is she, and it's a great movie, but like the thing about his wife and everything, she's like barely in it, like, or she's not in it. She's dead before he even gets home. The whole thing's about her as the dead person and him respecting her. 300, kind of the same thing. Beautiful romantic stuff in 300, but Braveheart, spot on. Anyway, just gonna say that
we just lost 3/4 of our viewership. Anyway,
no, just the girls that don't like action movies.
No, look, here's the thing. Before you go on, here's the thing.
I'm already there.
Like, there are lots of movies. Like, I'm with Ashley. Like, there are lots of girls who could enjoy an action movie, which is what that was. It was an action movie. It was not a chick flick. A chick flick is a movie.
That's why it's so great. It works both ways.
No, see, here's the thing. I think a chick flick is a movie that you go specifically because your female partner or the person you're dating is going to enjoy the movie.
And every girl I know of watched and liked that movie.
But you didn't pick it specifically because you knew the girl would like it. You went
in high school. I did. High school, that was a very successful girl movie. Not as successful as number one.
Because there was a part of you that just wanted to see the violence.
Of course. I'm not saying that chick flick definition means you have to go see it because it is a chick flick. I'm just saying
that is exactly the definition.
No, it's not. A chick flick is a movie a chick can enjoy, and a chick enjoys Braveheart.
It's called a chick flick. It's called a chick flick because chicks enjoyed it. You don't. Normally.
No, see, there you go. That's the definition. A perfect chick flick is one that you can both enjoy.
No. Yep. A chick flick is a movie that you would not see without a chick. That's the point. You just got through saying, I haven't seen a bunch of movies because I either wasn't interested in a girl or it was after my divorce, because you only watch them with girls. The guy is not going to watch Sleepless by himself. You will watch Braveheart by yourself. That is not a chick flick. That is the worst of all the things you said that is stupid. Okay? And that's a lot. That's a lot. Putting Braveheart on a chick flick list is the worst. Okay.
The worst?
Worst.
I just want to throw out here that the definition on dictionary.com for a chick flick is a movie that appeals mainly to women. So you're right.
Mainly to women.
All right. Lawyered, but I stand by my point. My definition
of course you do.
Of a chick flick. My definition is it was a movie that a girl loves to watch. It was a perfect date movie. Maybe that should have been a different category. Their top 7 date movies.
You didn't do it for any of that. You did it because you just think it's cool to be contrary. We know.
No, we don't. I've said this for years. If you asked me in high school, I said Braveheart is the best chick flick movie. Yeah, not Titanic. Not Titanic, because guys don't want to watch Titanic, but girls do. Guys and girls like Braveheart.
You know why that is? Because it's a chick flick.
All right, Bridesmaids. The reason this is good, and I actually bumped this for something else, but I forgot to actually make the change when I was putting my list together, but that's okay. Bridesmaids, excuse me, really taps into the girlfriend. I don't mean guy and girlfriend. I mean girls and their girlfriend, circle of girlfriends dynamic, and a lot of drama with a lovely little subtextual story of a guy who's pursuing what's her name? Amy Schumer, right? Is that her name?
No,
you're talking about Kristen Wiig, right?
What's her name?
Isn't she the one that's the number one? Kristen Wiig.
Kristen Wiig. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Anyway, Kristen Wiig, the one from Ghostbusters and stuff. She's hilarious, and she's so sweet in this movie. But it's about a girl who's given up on her dreams, has lost all hope because of a guy, screwed her over in the recession, all that stuff, life circumstances, and another guy comes into her life being a gentleman, entertaining her. They have a one-night stand, and she blows him off. He's really just determined, and then down the road, after she kind of not even friend zones him, she brushes him off, and then she needs his help, and he, being the better guy, some of the funniest lines ever, bails her out when the hot one-night stand relationship she has going on messes with her, and everything else. She's depressed about her girlfriend getting married and everything, and then he's the one at the very end that she says, you know what, a regular guy is pretty awesome, and it's the guy from the IT crowd, so it's hilarious. Anyway, great movie. Ashley, did you like Bridesmaids? Have you seen it?
I have.
You didn't like it?
It's fine. It's too depressing. Like I watched it and I wanted to like laugh and have fun. And it had some funny scenes, but it's like this is more. It's less funny than I was made to believe.
I watch this periodically out of entertainment for myself, so it's drama.
Quick question about that. So is that a situation where like you saw it after everyone told you how great it was, and then you were kind of like, eh?
The only thing I ever knew about that movie was that, oh, it's so funny. And I'm like, oh, cool. I want to watch a comedy. So like I watched it. I'm like, this isn't a comedy. I mean, like, it has some funny things in it. But I was like,
you know what? That I wonder how much of that was you just being told how funny it was, and then you had a little bit more expectation. Because I had a different experience. I watched it way after everybody was raving about it.
Me too.
But I also, for whatever reason, like I just didn't think it was gonna be that funny because I haven't really, and this isn't a knock. I'm trying not to. I don't mean that like I'm not trying to say like women can't be funny, but I mean like the movies that I've seen where women were like kind of crude never really appealed to me.
This was like the girl version of the Hangover movies.
And I loved the Hangover.
I hated the Hangover movies. I like this better than Hangover.
I love the Hangover. Those are fun. But I didn't see it. I didn't see it because it was R-rated, right? And then like, and then my friend, he kind of like edited it, he on his computer or whatever, and then sent me a copy of it. And I thought it was really funny. I only watched it the one time, and I was like, I bet this is much funnier R-rated.
And I love everyone in it. Every actress in it is fantastic. Between the Office characters and the SNL and everything, they're really great performance. It's a very well done comedy, really, and it hits a lot of good. It's good emotional buttons too.
Right, the cast was great. The cast was great, and like, but it's just like I'm like I wouldn't look at it and like be like, oh, that's definitely an SNL comedy movie. It's like,
no, it's better than that. It's better than that. It's better. That's just the one scene where she goes home depressed and makes the cupcake to show how good she is at decorating cut and just eats it just one by herself. It's so sweet. Anyway, moving on.
It's sweet, but it's not funny.
Okay. Number 5, Enchanted. Enchanted is the perfect Disney princess story that connects, and guys can enjoy it too. It's hilarious. The guy that plays Prince, the guy from Superman, and the guy that played Cyclops, whatever his name is, he is hilarious in everything he does. And then what's his name that plays the modern day boyfriend? I can't remember his name. He's huge. So charming, but he is so like has like no hope in like modern day real life relationships. He's like a divorce lawyer and all that stuff. He sees all these bad situations. He's had his wife or his life left him and his daughter and all that stuff. He's had the real world hit him. And so here comes this fairy tale girl into his life. And then she like converts him, and he like fantasy worlds her, and she like real worlds him. And then they mesh together in this beautiful relationship, and you have them playing with their daughter at the end of the movie. It's just beautiful. And then his real life girlfriend hooks up with her fairy tale boyfriend. It's just beautiful. I love it. Great music too.
Just seeing Ashley's face when you pop this up, I think she should be the one to take.
All right, Ashley, let's bring it on. I can handle this.
Okay.
I will stand by Enchanted. The dance scene at the end, beautiful. Breaks my heart. Go ahead.
It's not a chick flick, it's a Disney.
A Disney can't be a chick flick. All girls want to be little Disney princesses. And this is a movie about a real life Disney princess. Back when Amy Adams was awesome, by the way.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with like women being like the hero or whatever, right? Like I'm not saying that women aren't allowed to have the opportunity, but like no, this is a Disney. This is not a chick flick. This is a Disney, and there's a difference. Like no.
Just like Braveheart's not a chick flick, it's an action movie.
Just like,
well, okay.
But no, it's just. I mean, I agree with you. Like, it's like a fun story, like, right? It's fun, but
it's an emotional story. It's beautiful. The scene where she comes up to the daughter and when she says, "I'm going to go on a date," and then they're going to go to the ball, and she goes to the little girl and she says, "I need you to help me go shopping." And she takes the credit card and she says, "Men only want one thing." She says, "What's that?" And she says, "I don't know. No one's ever told me." Like that little moment with the daughter is really sweet. The stuff with the girlfriend, it's all amazing. It's beautiful.
So what was
just a Disney cartoon.
What was your definition of a chick flick again? Do you want to reread that? Because kids want to see this movie.
That's not mine. That's that's my point. Is every one of my options hits a different dynamic of how I define a chick flick. This is the ultimate Disney princess movie.
So this is the chick flick that you can take a single mom to with her daughter. Is that what you're saying?
Sure. If that's what you're going to read from it. This is a very bouncing back from divorce movie as well. And I'm sorry, I discovered it during my divorce. So back off.
Hey, no, I think it's true. I mean, you could, if you're going to, I see Ashley's point, because if you're going to, I'm not saying I necessarily agree or disagree. I don't know how I feel about Enchanted being a chick flick or not. I think it's more of a chick flick than if you were to pick like an actual Disney princess cartoon.
That would not count. This counts because it's not a cartoon. It's a live action movie with a really great story with good real actors in the real world. That's why.
So do you think like you could? I mean, it's not a chick flick for obvious reasons. Well, maybe it is, but like going and seeing the live action Aladdin would be considered a chick flick
if it was good, but that movie wasn't good.
I'm not saying on anybody's list. I'm just saying.
If you had other issues, you could go watch Maleficent, and I'd be like, I understand that.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this one.
Don't care. Moving on. All right. While you were sleeping.
Yeah.
Now,
this is a Christmas movie. I'm just kidding.
It's a holiday. Christmas holiday.
All right. While you were sleeping, actually, no, it's not. And everyone says that, but it's really not. Christmas is over in the first like half hour of the movie. Then they're getting ready for New Year's. They have their makeup Christmas because remember the accident happened Christmas Eve and they didn't get to have Christmas. And so they have their makeup Christmas, invite her. That's like the first act. So the rest of the movie is just during the concussion. But what I like about this movie is this is a beautiful, great romantic comedy. And Bill Pullman. Thank you, Movie Box, for reminding me his name. This was him in his prime. This was pre-Independence Day and after Spaceballs when he was like, ooh, this guy's actually pretty good. And long before he did the Grudge crap. So this was him when he was so charming and just so sweet, and how she falls in love with the blue-collar brother instead of the white-collar brother, and he seemed all ideal and everything, this great Prince Charming kind of a guy, and then she ends up determining which one she likes. And that whole sequence where she's describing about being alone, that she's the one that always works all the holidays and she has nobody and just her cats and all that stuff. And her boss, who was that one black guy that's hilarious, he's like saying, you're going to marry this guy, the coma guy? And she's like, yes. And he's like, why? And then she has that big rant that she does. She's like, why wouldn't I want to be happy and all that stuff? And then, what's his name? The cousin or whatever, the Godfather relative that knows the truth. That whole movie's so good. Let's watch it right now. And then he goes and tells the brother, you're an idiot for not following Lucy, that you should be in love with her, even if you don't remember. She's awesome. Oh, so good.
It is a good movie.
It's a good movie.
It's a holiday
movie. You guys, I can't wait to hear your perfect, non-thematic, non-seasonal movies that are just like no genre outside of chick flick. I can't wait. All right, Mamma Mia.
What is a musical?
Mamma Mia, because every girl loves this movie. They love to sing it. They love watching it. And the best part of it, if I was to watch it with a girl, which I've never done, and I probably would never do, I will bawl by the end of it, and that always earns me points. So there you go. But it's a great movie. Girls love it.
That earns you points? Really?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Being in touch with
I want to hear your opinion on this. If a guy you went on a date with cried at the end of Mamma Mia, would that earn you points?
About the mom getting her daughter ready for her wedding? Yeah, I promise that would get me points. Ashley's like biting her tongue off completely. We should have let her go first because she won't be able to speak without her tongue. All right, Ashley, go ahead.
Okay, so I've never seen this and I have no desire.
That's fine. Ooh. It's not a great movie. I will not say it's a great movie, but girls love it. And I've never rewatched it because I will cry, but also because it's not a bad or a good movie. But I love the music. I watch selected scenes, and I'm sorry, I will stand by Pierce Brosnan. He is not an issue in this movie. Neither is Meryl Streep in their singing. They're great. All right. Number 2. This, my dears, that's about a wedding. My best friend's wedding has some of the most charming characters, most outlandish situations, and some of the funniest, wittiest, cute little dialogue of any romantic comedy. And what's great about it is there's no happy ending, really. It's about friendship. It's about a guy and girl friendship. It's about dreams and her desperation and her feeling like she's never going to be happy and settle down with someone, and she feels like her best friend is her last shot, and then he's slipping out her fingers, and she does everything conniving and cunning to destroy the wedding, and it doesn't work. And this movie is the beginning of when I fell in love with, what's her name?
Cameron Diaz.
Cameron Diaz. And after this movie, yeah, this was the first movie I knew her from. And then this is the last time I was in love with Cameron Diaz, because I turned out I was just in love with the character, not Cameron Diaz.
Didn't you like her in The Mask?
I loved her in The Mask.
No, I didn't like The Mask. The only thing I liked about The Mask is at the end of it, he does go with the blonde girl instead of the girl that was like, why would you go with her when Cameron Diaz is right there? But I didn't know that was Cameron Diaz because I only saw the movie once. I never wanted to rewatch it again. And then I watched this over and over and over again. This is a movie that was in the Kmart break room, and everyone watched the scene in the middle where they sing the song, Say a Little Prayer for You. Yeah, Say a Little Prayer for You. And I bought the CD for this. I still have it. I bought the CD for this to listen to that song over and over and over, and I did. I love this movie. This is the ultimate romantic comedy. So this is the one from that category.
But it's not a chick flick?
No, it's a chick flick. Because
it is romantic comedy.
Well, I'm saying romantic comedy is a subcategory, as I've defined many categories of a chick flick. And
I would consider this a chick flick.
No, yeah, it is.
Of course. Oh, and the opening number where they're singing that song, the wishing and hoping and praying and singing that song. That is the sweetest little opening with those four girls just doing their little thing. It's so cute. I just watched that over and over too. I love this movie. And the gay guy, holy crap. That gay guy, her buddy, her editor.
He's really great. He's really good in that movie. Yeah,
he steals the show. And he's at the end when he's on the phone with her, and he's like, wait, so he's chasing Kimmy, yes, and you're chasing him, yes. Who's chasing you? Nobody. Jules, that's the answer. You're not the one.
Yeah.
All right. So a few runners up. When Harry Met Sally, classic. It's great, and that whole movie. It's not just about them two. The whole thing, the theme is relationships, and I think that's really good for that. When I watched this, though, it's more of a solid, like a Billy Crystal comedy, though, for me than it was like a chick flick. And it totally is fine. That's why it's here. Pretty Woman, I'm going to say as the best, how like films versus movies. Pretty Woman is the best chick flick film I've ever seen. It's not one I rewatch because I'm not a big Richard Gere fan. And it's very well done. I watched it like 5 years ago. And I was like, man, this is a really good movie. Like, it's a really well done film made craft movie. But
my babysitter took me to that when it came out.
Really? My uncle did the sound editing for that back when he was in the Hollywood business. He was one of the sound editors on it. And that's why we as a family bought it to watch his work. And as kids, I rewatched his work on that movie over and over and over. In fact, this is a fun fact for you. Pretty Woman is the #1 most rented VHS tape of all time. How's that?
Wow, I didn't know that. That's
interesting, right? Before DVD, that was the #1 most rented by all the perverts and all the girls who loved it. It's a good story. It's a really good, great Cinderella story, but it's not one I rewatch.
I think that movie is really funny. But anyway,
it is. It's funny. Yeah. This movie, Warm Bodies, was introduced to me with my last relationship, and I just remember being very, very entertained. That it was like a completely new story. It's about these two teenage zombie. Well, he's a zombie, she's not, and he's like kind of coming out of the zombiedom and like kind of falling in love with her and everything. And those little initial instincts that they have, he still has those little romantic instincts. It's really cute. If you've never seen it, I recommend checking out Warm Bodies. It's just fun. It's a good one. 10 Things I Hate About You. Great 2 love stories going on there, even though I can't stand Julia Stiles. That's Julia Stiles. Yeah. Can't stand her. I think she's so obnoxious. And not just that character. I hated her in Dexter and everything else I've seen her in. But she's a good actress. I just don't like her. And Heath Ledger, back when it was like, who's this guy? He's going to be big. But really cute story. Really like it. And have you guys seen The Girl Next Door?
I don't think
so.
All right, I don't have a lot to say about it then. He's just a high school kid. She's a porn star, and he's a gentleman, and kind of gets wrapped into her world. She moves in next door, obviously, and becomes infatuated with her. His friends are trying to get him to hook up with her, like, oh, you can get laid and all that stuff. But she actually turns out she's a very different person than he expects as a porn star would be. And she's trying to get out of the industry, and they kind of get into some big serious drama with some of her colleagues of the producing side of it, and gets into some drama. But it's a really sweet story, and they end up together at the end. Really sweet story.
Kind of like Milk Money.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, Milk Money is a good one too.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Oh, I wish I would have remembered that one. I watched that one as a kid a lot. That was a good movie.
That was a good movie.
Melanie Griffith.
Two other honorable mentions I didn't put on there. Joe versus the Volcano. Great love story, and it's absolutely a love story. And I just watched with my kids, and I was like, how could I forget it? Is Heart and Souls with Robert Downey Jr. That movie, have you guys seen Heart and Souls?
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that would be my assignment for you guys if you guys watched one. Okay. Heart and Souls, I don't even want to tell you what it's about though, but it's a beautiful chick flick, because I bawl. It's very touching, very emotional, with a lot of different dynamics I won't get into as I don't want to spoil the story. But you guys really, if I recommend any movie from tonight's list from anyone, that's the one you should watch. So Heart and Souls. I watched it with my kids and they liked it. So anyway, okay. All right, my number one. Before I click it, I just want to say I have watched this with multiple girls, not because it's an angle, it's just because it kind of comes up in dating with me in my life. It is a musical, and we'll see if you can guess. It's my favorite musical, and it's like the ultimate love story, and it's just the most powerful chick flick, and it's been one of the most effective movies to watch on a date I've ever had. Any guesses?
Yeah, I was gonna guess Moulin Rouge. Yeah,
hey, you guys are good. I shared that with my friend that was messaging me, and she said, well, what about Greatest Showman? I'm like, that's about with who? That's not a good love story. Like, with no one is that a good love story.
It's not a good love story.
And West Side Story would be good, but it's tragedy. And the other one they said was, I don't remember. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Moulin Rouge, all about the whole thing, wisdom, beauty, truth, and love, whatever it is, or freedom, beauty, truth, and love. That tragedy, best, spoiler alert, best death sequence I've ever seen in a movie, musical or otherwise. I think that finale is one of the most incredible endings to a movie. Cutting to him in the future, like as he's writing it, just all depressed and reliving this whole thing. The dialogue, the lighting, the visuals, his crying performance. You thought Rocky 3 when Mickey dies is a great crying performance, which it is, not as good as Ewan McGregor when he cries when she's dying. Oh, and it cutting to everyone in the room just watching it. It was their finale. Oh, everything about it. And when that one moment when he's walking away, he's like, I paid my whore, and he's walking off through the audience, and she starts singing Come What May. Yeah. Oh, breaks my heart. This movie cannot be my movie with any girl because it's so embedded in so much of my dating, even my marriage. In fact, I used to sing Come What May to my kids when they were babies in their cribs, every one of them. So yeah, that movie's Taken, but Taken, that's a good chick flick. Daddy issues as well. But this is my number one. No other movie is as emotional or powerful or moving or sweet or romantic as this film. The end. Bravo. All right. Any rebuttals on that one? Didn't think so, because it's the ultimate. Okay, who wants to go next? We got to kind of go.
We're fine. Because I'm the chick. So.
Okay, so you have the definitive list as the chick? Yes. All right, Josh, you're up.
All right.
Okay, Josh's top 7 chick flicks. Anything before I hit? You just tell me when to hit slide.
Yeah, no, there's one I wish I would have put on my list, and I've thought of a couple of honorable mentions that I should have mentioned, but anyway, we'll just go to the list. So let's go with top 7.
Well, before we go to the first one, do your definition. Your definition is what chicks would want to go to, but you would not. That's your definition?
No. I don't think that's the right definition. I think it's a movie that traditionally you would not, at least the first time, you would not watch by yourself. You would only watch it with a girl. Now, I'm not
All right.
saying that there's not chick flicks that I would watch on my own if I'm like scrolling through channels looking for something to watch. I'm just saying the first time you wouldn't choose to go see it without a chick.
All right, that's the most
Okay.
roundabout definition I've ever heard about a chick flick, but I'll take it.
I don't
Okay,
think so. I think
number
it's great.
1 or number 7.
Number 7, Dirty Dancing. Okay, I really like this movie. It's a classic. Like I said, I just watched this with my daughter, so there's maybe a little bit of recency bias there, but it's just a classic movie. It's got iconic scenes, iconic language. Like I said, it's a classic. Just really enjoy it. Patrick Swayze is great in it. Everybody's great in it. It deals with women's issues like abortion and different things with that as well. And
Or daddy issues.
and daddy issues and the issue of, there's also this kind of budding issue
Forbidden love.
Yeah, there's an issue of a woman always trying to be the best and being great and putting on the show when she's also got kind of this this other side that she wants to explore, and she does in secret, and then it comes out. And I think that it's a good movie. So
Girls like Patrick Swayze. And I didn't put Ghost on my list, but that's another big chick. But not really.
Oh man, that's another one. Dang it.
But that's a different type. But anyway, I just want to say I only saw this once, and I was like maybe 23 or something like that. It was on Comcast or something. I watched it, and I was like, it's good, but it's not what I thought it was. I thought it was like a dance movie, but it was not. It was about dancing, but that's not what it was. But I gotta say, I had a huge crush on her ever since I was a kid and watched Ferris Bueller, whatever her name is. She was Jennifer what?
Jennifer Grey.
Okay. She was hot. Like I always wanted to watch this movie because of her. I just never was exposed to it. So anyway, it's fine. I never wanted to watch again. I love the ending. I watched the ending multiple times. But anyway.
Okay, so that's number 7. And all right, Pitch Perfect. So I love Pitch Perfect so much. In fact, this is one of the few chick flicks that I would totally watch on my own and have watched multiple times because it's just so funny. I love everything.
Pitch Perfect is way better than Bridesmaids. Just throwing that out.
Okay, I thought you were about to say Moulin Rouge, and I would have reached through the internet and slapped your face. It is no Moulin Rouge.
Oh,
this is not a good movie. Are you kidding me?
Oh, are you kidding? This movie is classic. It's hilarious.
Oh, you didn't rip on any of mine, but can I just throw out there? It's a musical. It can't be a chick flick.
No, first of all, let me just say, okay, I don't know a single girl on the planet that wouldn't watch Pitch Perfect. Okay, that movie is so good. It is the classic chick flick. Both of my daughters have watched the musical parts of this movie multiple times.
There you go, the musical parts. Yeah. Now I'll say, if you're going to use that definition that chicks like it, which is why I picked whatever one of mine was that option.
Braveheart?
No. Braveheart, no. Well, Mamma Mia. This is equivalent to my Mamma Mia pick because girls like it, and I like the songs. Same thing, but neither of them are good movies. I'm sorry, but go ahead.
No,
you didn't rip on my choices, so I won't rip on yours.
No, this is a great movie. There's nothing bad about it. I remember when I got it, I was like, okay, well, I guess. And then when I watched it, I went in with no expectations. I was like, this is gonna be stupid. You know what I mean? And then when I watched it, I was so pleasantly surprised. I walked out. It's one of the few times. That's another thing. I like a chick flick. The ones that go in my top 7 are all about rewatchability. And so it's about a movie that I watch and I'm like, I would watch that again in a minute. You know what I mean? And this is one of
Dirty Dancing.
Oh yeah. Dirty Dancing is great. Anyway, okay. That's my number 6.
Can I just say I had a huge crush. I have a crush on everybody, but I had a huge crush on her from when she was in Twilight. And I said, that girl is way better than the girl that plays the main character in Twilight. And then bam, she kicked off and had an incredible, whatever her name is. What is her name?
Yeah, Twilight. Yeah, Team Edward all the way. Anyway.
Yeah, me too, but that's not my point. Whatever her name is, she was fantastic until she did that Disney Plus Noelle crap. And I was like, hey, your career's done. All right.
Twilight, best movie of all time. Anyway, okay.
I didn't say it was good. I hated it.
just messing around. Okay, number 5, Sleepless in Seattle. So this is another one that I recently watched again with my daughter, and another just Tom Hanks is so good in this movie, and Meg Ryan is so good in this movie, and it's funny watching it again. It's funny when you get older and you watch these movies that you remember watching when you were younger, and I remember being like, Meg Ryan's kind of a creeper in this movie. You know, I'm like, it's kind of creepy that she's like kind of really into this guy just because you heard him on the radio. But man, like, what a great, it just gives you all the warm fuzzies. You know what I mean? Like from the kid calling in and calling in, my dad is so sad, and all of these things, and him saying all those wonderful things about his wife that passed away, and then just, man, like such a good movie.
I've never seen it.
Oh,
I've never seen it.
You've got to see it. You've got to see it. Now, I don't want you going in with these like huge expectations. It's this big, fantastic movie because it does move a little slow.
It's really,
but it's really slow. But
romance movies are like that.
Yeah,
okay.
But it's a slow burn. Good movie.
We'll put a pin on if this is the one that you're going to want me to watch for my homework. Now, I don't think any of you picked it, but do you think their Tom Hanks famous one is You've Got Mail? Isn't that like a bigger movie?
No, I don't think You've Got Mail is bigger than Sleepless in Seattle.
I've never seen either of them.
I prefer You've Got Mail over Sleepless in Seattle.
Really?
Yeah. But just because Sleepless in Seattle, I keep falling asleep on, so I've never seen the whole thing through.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
See, these are movies that came on my radar when I wasn't involved with anyone. So I'm not going to watch sappy chick flicks because the reason is not because I'm a guy and I'm not interested. It's just I will cry. It's just like there's certain horror movies I won't watch or tragedies I won't watch by myself. I need someone to cuddle and take care of me. So anyway, okay. Anything else on that one, Josh? That's a popular pick. You and Eric Chafee?
Yeah.
Chappie. He picked that one too. So yeah. All right.
Next.
Fair enough.
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. So I watched this with my youngest daughter, and this
is all girlness. I hope this is your daughter and your nostalgia because it's not a great movie.
Oh, this movie is great. I love this movie. This is a movie. This is another one of those movies where if you're on a date with somebody or whatever, any woman, Tim, you want to get points with a girl, put on How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I don't know anybody who would be like, hey, you know what? You want to watch How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days? And they'd say, no, actually, I don't. You know what I mean? Like they all like it's a classic. It's a classic, especially with the side character, the supporting actress who's, the whole purpose of why she's doing this in the first place is because of this actress who just keeps doing all the wrong things in it. And then also I love you can see the part where she really starts falling for him, or that she sees he's really into her when he takes her home to see the parents and all that, even after the crazy fake therapy session, and all that, and playing the game, together and all that, and all the family, and her finding out that he's the, spoiler alert. I mean, if you haven't watched it, it's 20 years old, so it's on you now. But that all of those things, just it's a great, perfect chick flick.
What movie came out around this time that I did like was Sweet Home Alabama. I
thought about that one too.
That one was entertaining and much better.
Did it make your list?
Did it make no, it didn't.
Okay.
My list? No.
Then why
shut up. I'm just saying it's from like
it wasn't even an honorable mention. You didn't even give it an honorable mention. Okay.
I forgot about it. I thought about it yesterday. Anyway.
Next.
All right. It's popular, but for all the wrong reasons, just like Pitch Perfect.
Yeah, no, Tim doesn't like anything everybody likes. So, okay, number 3, Pretty Woman was on my list. Now, here's the thing. I struggled with whether I wanted to put this on my list or not, but I put it on there because I have watched this movie so many times.
Of course you have.
and the thing is that like I watched it. I remember this is like sometimes I'm like, was my childhood really twisted? Because my mom would watch this all the time, and it's
did she rent it? Is she the reason it broke that record?
No, well, you know what? I don't remember. I'm sure we rented it a bunch, but I do know. I think we ended up we definitely ended up owning a VHS copy of this because we would end up going there. Back in the day, there were always these used video stores you could go to and buy old movies. And they'd also have like old records and tapes and CDs and stuff too. And we would always go there and have these movies super cheap.
With that cover, that was the VHS cover.
Yeah, and that movie was one we watched. We watched over and over. I think actually before we even bought it though, we recorded it off of HBO or something like that because it was on all the time. And man, it was such a good movie, even though it is a really twisted plot. Like it's a really twisted, weird plot. I have not shown either of my daughters this movie. Funny thing though, I am a season ticket holder to our local theater production, Broadway Sacramento, and this musical is going to be one of the ones. Like they're doing a play of it, and I have tickets for me and like all my kids, and I'm like,
you might need to have a conversation before that one.
Yeah, I might not be taking them to that. So I'm trying to figure that out. There were a whole bunch of other reasons why I got the tickets in the first place. It wasn't because of Pretty Woman, but I'm like, I want to see it, And so anyway.
So a few other fun facts. There's a nipple shot in that one, very famous. One of the last sex scenes where they're rolling around on the silk bed when he kisses her for the first time. That's a big deal. And then also, that's not her body in that cover. Did you know that?
Yes.
I did not know that.
I learned that in my first film class, and it like traumatized. It just destroyed me because I thought that was like the hottest picture and outfit ever. And this is why I fell in love with Julia Roberts, and then never again. Not even in my best friend's wedding.
I also love that whole thing about between the prostitutes where like just don't kiss them. I was like,
kiss on the lips.
Yeah,
that's a big deal. I learned about that in health. My health class teacher kind of brought that up. We were talking about intimacy and all that kind of stuff. And my mom talked about that too. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there about that where I'm sure completely not accurate, but very good. It's a very well done movie, except for the famous scene where she like he has the jewelry box and he slaps it at her, snaps it, and she's like, oh, and that does her horse laugh that I can't stand. Ooh, I hate that scene. Oh, I hate that scene. And the scene with Jason Alexander coming on to her. So good. So makes me so uncomfortable. Like, oh, it's so good. And then the line he says, I never treated you like a prostitute. She says, you just did. Oh, it's just so good. I haven't seen it as many times as you, though, but I just remember a few moments. All right. Then you get to the jock scene, and it's really boring, the polo scene. I'm just like checked out of it. I'm like, there's no sex going on here. Anyway. All right, number 2.
Clueless. So this is the one.
Such a girl.
Are you kidding me? This movie is hilarious.
It's awesome.
Like this movie is so good, and it is classic 90s. Like, in fact, I remember this movie. There were a group of girls in my high school that tried to look like these girls. I mean, after this movie came out, and I mean, it's so good. There's so many great lines. It's so funny. Paul Rudd at his best. Like Paul Rudd is great in this movie. They're all great. Everybody is perfectly cast. Like I feel like you couldn't take anybody out and put somebody else in there and it'd be the same movie. Everybody in there is so good. And then also, and like I said, I just watched it with my daughter, and it's one that she just likes to watch over and over and over now too, which I think is great. I mean, just I love the scene where she gets mugged.
Yeah.
And he's like, get on the ground, and she's like, you don't understand. This is an Alada.
An Alaya.
An Alaya. And he's like, an Awada? He's like, and I will totally shoot you in the face. It's just so great. Yeah.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen Clueless?
It's either this or Legally Blonde. One of them I saw at a friend's party once. And the other one I didn't see, but I never remember which one it is because it was completely forgettable. I think it was Legally Blonde. I don't think I've seen this. And it comes up on a lot of people's lists, on their like underrated movies list. This movie comes up a lot.
This movie's amazing.
Tim, I have to say, if you haven't seen Clueless, I don't even know if you're qualified to give a top 7 chick flick list.
Well, you know what I can do that you can't do is I can put together a slideshow. So there you go.
I'm just saying.
I'm qualified.
So Tim, I would say, no joke, I would say this is probably the only like chick flick on my list where I would say you should watch this by yourself. Like it's a good movie. It's funny. You're not gonna cry.
I don't need a girl's shoulder to cry on.
Might,
I can
you
handle
might.
this
You
All
might.
right.
Now that I think about it. But like,
Wait, there's a robbery scene?
No, but this is such a good one. Anyway.
Do you think this is more important for me to watch than Sleepless in Seattle?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Just because of the era where you grew up. Like I think this would also
era. I thought you said area. I'm like, what, Colville?
Yeah. The era. Like I think you'll get a lot of the 90s references and stuff that you'll see in this movie too.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to me because this is also one of the movies that is clearly 90s, but also timeless.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And so, anyway.
Fair enough. All right. Runners up. You had two or honorable mentions.
So I got to say, A Walk to Remember was almost on my list as the number 7 because I love Mandy Moore so much. And this movie is so sad. Oh,
Don't spoil it. I've not seen it, and I want to someday. I've been told to watch this by people that are very important to me, and I plan on watching it. So
like this is everybody loves The Notebook as the Nicholas Sparks classic. No, it's A Walk to Remember. Like I love A Walk to Remember so much. And that movie, the Mormon movie that came out that was basically A Walk to Remember. What was that one called? It's about the girl who got cancer and Charlie.
That was a book.
Huh?
That was a book, like an LDS book. Like
yeah. I cried at that. I did see that.
It was a ripoff of A Walk to Remember. Like
I think it's older than A Walk to Remember.
I'm sure that the book is pretty old, dude.
Yeah.
You know what?
Mean, this guy's secretly a Mormon. Yeah.
Maybe
I cried at Charlie, but I'll never watch it.
But Mandy Moore is just, I love her to death. Like she's so great. She's so great. And the way she sings in this movie,
yeah, it's a good
And she was like, I think she was our age when this movie came out. I was so in love with her. I was like, I would take a bullet for you. So anyway, Can't Buy Me Love is an 80s classic that I don't know if this would be on a lot of people's lists, but I just have always loved this movie. I just thought it was so much fun. You know what I mean? Like this idea of, this guy who's a total nerd and he pays the girl, the hot girl to go out with him, and then all of a sudden all the other girls are way into him and she dresses him up and then they kind of fall in love and all that stuff. And I just think it's a good movie, and it's been remade a bunch of times now. But the 80s movie is really great. So now a couple of ones that I thought about afterwards. So the first one, I quite frankly, if I had had some time to think about it, I think I probably would have ended up on my top 7, was Just Married with Ashton Kutcher and I went on a date with that movie.
You're so late, dude. That movie sucks. Go ahead.
What are you talking about? That movie is hilarious.
The one funny scene of that is when she's like, "Don't boys think about this?" Or they're wedding since childhood, and that cuts to the two little kids with lightsabers.
No,
that's the only good part of that. And the outlet when they're at the hotel in Europe and they can't find an outlet that works, they burn the room down. That's the only two funny parts. That movie sucks. Go ahead.
No, that whole scene in the hotel room, when they're both coming back, and he ended up having that girl in the hotel room, and she finds the bra, and he's like, "That's yours." that was, and she throws that giant ashtray at him and hits him in the head. Oh my God. That is so funny. Or when I think my favorite line is when they're arguing in the plane, and he says something like, "I hope you used protection," and she's like, "Yo, you can't put a condom on something that big," and he was like, "Ha ha ha!" Oh man, that movie's so funny. I could watch that a million times. Anyway, I went on a date with a girl who I seriously think that movie probably prolonged my dating her, because I had such a good time in the movie. I equated it with the girl. You know what I mean? Like,
relationship Band-Aid.
Yeah, like, because we had gone out on a few dates. Well, we hadn't really gone on a few dates before, but I'd gone over and hung out with her a few times, and it was like we just ended up watching movies that ended up working out really well. Like we watched Pee-wee's Big Adventure together, and like just like things like that. And I just equated like, oh, I love these movies to like I really like this person. And then and then later on it didn't work out. But I usually just think like that movie prolonged that relationship. So, but anyway,
fun fact about Pee-wee's Big Adventure. This is very important. That Pee-wee, what's his name?
Paul Rubens.
Paul Rubens, and the girl that he meets in the dinosaur land or whatever are the two that play the Penguin's parents in Tim Burton's Batman Returns. Like in the beginning when they throw the kid out.
I knew that Paul Rubens was there. I didn't realize that
that's her. So they actually did get reconnected, and that's what happened to Pee-wee after he made all his money off of his movie.
Dottie actually ended up, I think, being one of the voices of one of the Rugrats too. If I'm not mistaken.
She's awesome. She was in a lot of stuff back then. She was cool. Anyway, just real quick, I just want to say before you say your other runner-up, Charlie and A Walk to Remember were both based off novels that both came out in 1999. So I don't think you'll ever figure out who copied who.
Oh, interesting. So okay. So another movie that I don't think a lot of people have seen, but I find really fun, is I Love You, Beth Cooper. Have you ever seen that? It's got Hayden Panettiere or whatever in it. So essentially, she's like the hot cheerleader girl in school, and the valedictorian is in love with her, and he cuts like this big, like in his speech, he talks about like her boyfriend, and just like slams him in the valedictorian speech. And then tells her he's having a party, but she and her friends are the only ones who show up. And anyway, then the boyfriend shows up and wants to kill the guy, and then it's all about them being chased pretty much the whole rest of the movie. And it's just a fun movie, so it's an honorable mention. It didn't make my list, but it's a fun one that I'd watch over and over again. So anyway, okay, all right. So my number one is, drum roll, When Harry Met Sally. So I love this movie. Yeah, I love this movie so much. Billy Crystal's so classic. Over the years, it's meant more and more to me.
From multiple different relationships.
Yeah. It's gotten more and more. It's meant more and more to me over the course of time in relationships. So yeah, it's just really funny watching this and seeing their progression as they go through and how much they don't necessarily like each other, and then they end up liking each other, then they end up loving it, falling in love with each other. And of course the classic line is, when you find the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, you want your rest of your life to start right now. Like, I love that line.
Good.
Yeah. And so and I also love Tim, this is one you have seen, right?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
this is the movie. I discovered this movie right when I discovered Jerry Seinfeld, and I felt like this was pitch perfect comedy that I was just in love with at the time. His very observational kind of quick-witted humor that like Seinfeld did on his show. A lot of just everything he pointed out as they walked around. I loved it. I fell in love with this movie. Not their relationship until later. I like it, but it was mostly him. Like I said, to me, this was more comedy than a love story, but it's completely a love story.
Yeah, I think that the scenes that stand out to me the most, though, I know everyone talks about the scene where she fakes the orgasm.
Yeah.
But I love the scene where he's in the car.
The karaoke? Oh.
No, he's in the car and he tries to spit out the window and hits the window.
That drive to from New York is the funniest sequence in the whole movie. Their conversation and him getting to know her, and they just spits the cherry seed in it.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah.
It's good. It's really good.
My other scene is when they finally sleep together, and his face afterwards is just so classic, how mortified he is afterwards. It's just so funny. Oh man, yeah. And of course, Rob Reiner is just such a great.
Yeah, and Carrie Fisher, of course, classic Carrie Fisher. I also love the meltdown he has after he sees her at when they're doing the karaoke shop scene, and then he goes back and they're arguing about the wagon wheel coffee table, and then he just has this complete meltdown and yells about how they're gonna fight over the stupid wagon wheel thing. And it just lays out everything he's going through, and it's just so funny.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Great movie.
so
Such
good.
a
That's a
movie.
good one. That's pretty high ranking. That's pretty. Have you shown your daughters or your kids?
No, just because of the R rating.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Yeah, I'm thinking it's
Actually, hold on.
hours.
I think I did watch it. I might have watched it with my daughter on VidAngel. Now that I think about it.
Why
I
is it
did-
R? Oh, they do talk about sex a lot.
It's just there's some cuss
Yeah,
words.
just swearing.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I recorded it off a TV and recently watched it with. No, I don't think I watched it with my daughter. I can't remember. I watched it
Either way.
recently. Anyway.
All right, good choices, except for Pitch Perfect. You're late. Okay. All right, Ashley, you're gonna bring us home. Whatever you got to say, I'm not going to criticize or rip yours apart because
Thank
you
you.
are a girl. How can I say
Yes.
this? Not a chick flick.
I know.
On your list, you're a chick. It's a flick. You
I'm a
win.
chick.
I will
Pretty
not.
much.
I will
That's
not
my
make any.
definition. It's
I
a
will
movie
not-
I want to watch when I want
will-
That can be anything.
I am just saying I will not afford you the same courtesy, Ashley. I may. I may.
trash on my list.
Is this when you say a movie I would watch? A movie you would watch with like a tub of chocolate ice cream on your lap, or is this just a movie you would
These
watch?
are movies that I want to watch when I'm happy or when I'm sad or when I want a snack or
All right. So romantic comedy is not necessarily in the definition. That's interesting.
no.
Okay.
However, there were movies I had like I wrote out a bunch of movies and I was like, no, that's more drama favorite. That's more this. So I was like taking them off, like more like my feel good happy like movies.
Right.
So
Should
these
we
are like my feel good happy movies that I will watch until the end of time.
Okay.
That's
I
what
was
I
gonna say, shall I
classify
share your initial list that you sent to me?
the what?
I was gonna say, shall we share the initial list you sent to me?
Oh my gosh, that'd be awesome. But no, because it's happened.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 1 or number 7.
Take the lead.
Huh.
This is like
I don't know what this is.
So it's actually based on a real life event. So New York was having a bunch of like their high school kids were actually having a bunch of like problems and things like that. And so Antonio Banderas' character, he was a ballroom dance instructor, and so he went in and he took over the detention and he started teaching the worst of the worst kids in this school how to ballroom dance. And he said it would teach them. So he gave this example because some parents and teachers were trying to get him out. And he's like, listen, he's like, if the woman, I wish I looked up the quote exactly, but he's talking about like, if a woman allows me to lead, she's giving me permission and she's actually taking the stronger role. And if she knows how to have a strong role, how likely is it she's going to allow someone to, beat her or disrespect her or impregnate her? You know what I mean? So he's like, I'm teaching these kids ballroom, but I'm teaching these kids morals and values, and it's like it's really good.
If she allows me to lead, she trusts me, but more than that, she's trusting herself.
So that's it. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Never seen this movie.
It's really good. It's a really good one. And
is it good dancing? Like, is it like good dancing?
There's amazing dancing in it. Yeah, especially this one scene. So like, there's this scene in there where he actually brings in his top student. You can kind of like that's him in like the center right there at the bottom. And like the close up of him. So the girl behind him dancing right now, that's one of his top students. And so he goes in to do the tango because he's like, look, like you can do some really awesome things. Because the kids were saying that, oh, you can't be sexy unless you're like grinding and like all this kind of stuff. And so he brought her in to kind of like show them up. And it was like, yeah, no, that's like one of my favorite dance scenes ever. And I was like, if I could dance, I want to dance like that. But I can't.
Better than the Footloose remake, because that's my favorite dancing in a movie outside of a musical.
This movie, blows that out of the water.
Wow, the dancing. I'm just on the dancing.
The dancing.
Really?
Yeah,
right.
The dancing's amazing.
Okay, I may have to watch this just to have that conversation with you.
No, it's really good. And like the fun thing is like the cool thing. Yeah, no, it's a really good one. And like where he actually like comes down and like meets them at what their level, but he like rises. It's really good. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Next.
One Fine Day.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So the reason why one of my favorite, like this is probably one of my favorites is on my list is because like I relate.
You long to have one fine day in your life?
That would be so nice. No, but like I relate so much to this. Like, you know, she's a single mom, right? And there's these things I relate to. Like there was times I didn't want to go to bed, so I'd like, you know, call my mom, like I needed a glass of water. And so you're drinking it, but you're like breathing it out and bringing it back in, like to like make time tax. You know, forever. And like just the fact, like I just relate to her so much. You know, like there's this scene in there where she's like talking about how she has to have control because if she doesn't, you know, she's like, my life is like I'm juggling and I can have a million balls in the air, but the second like someone like takes one away, everything falls, right? Because you just get in this habit. Anyway, but the love story between them is like adorable, and like so because like they start hating each other because he messed up her day, and he's like, you know, the so-called like cruddy dad, you know, and he's just doing the best he can with his job, and he's all this. It's so good.
Is this the one? I have seen this. Was this the one where like they go in there, they get back to her apartment or something, and like they're gonna like have sex or whatever? She's like going in like shaving her legs and trying to get in a hurry to like get ready, and then it gets foiled by the daughter or something like that.
No.
I
So
don't
they
know
were
exactly
gonna do that. So like what happened, because they both had their kids that day because their kids missed the field trip because of him, and so they decided to work together to help each other out that day because he had a really big like press conference and she had like a really big presentation, and so they decided to help each other out. But her son had the goldfish for the class, and he was supposed to return them to the class that day, but because they missed the field trip, and then so she was so ticked off, she's like, you take the fish, they're your responsibility. But then his boss's cat ate the fish, and so he's like, we have to replace the fish, like we, you know, like as like a way to get back and like see her, because you know. And so it was late at night and they had to bring fish, and it's New York, like everything's open all the time, right? So like, yeah, that's what that was.
I was misremembering. I need to rewatch it though because I love both of them, of course.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Both of them were in Batman movies. We're talking about Batman. All right.
Oh, this movie's
no idea what this is.
You don't know what movie that is?
Nope.
Yeah,
I've heard of it.
I've seen it a million times. My grandma loved this movie.
I love this movie.
My mom loves this movie. Yeah. It's just slow for me. That's all. It's a good movie. It's slow.
It's really good. I actually don't think it's slow. And like that scene in the end with like Sally Field at the funeral, and then, you know, they're like, when she's like, she wants to hit something really hard. That whole scene, Sally Field is amazing in this movie. Like they're all amazing in this movie. And
Tim,
then
you'd probably like this movie because I mean I think you like all the actresses in this movie.
I do love all the actresses in this movie. Yeah, I love all the actresses in this movie. And
Julia Roberts is coming up quite a bit tonight.
Yeah.
I think this might have been the first one that was kind of like her breakout, because this was before Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman was her breakout.
Well, this was the first one I remember seeing her in.
I thought this was older than Pretty Woman.
It may have been all this, but this wasn't her lead. She wasn't the lead, obviously, in this.
No,
she's like the last one on the. She's the last billing on that screen right there on the title.
But that's because she. Spoiler alert. That's because she dies. She's not in it for very long.
Well, then that's not her first leading role or her first big movie.
But it is.
Hey, go ahead. Keep talking. I'll look it up while you keep talking.
Yeah,
this is the one that kind of started her out.
Right.
A breakout. Well, okay, whatever. That's definitions. But I can tell you what, this movie was not the number one most rated VHS tape, so that movie was obviously bigger.
No. Pretty Woman's definitely Julia Roberts' movie.
Right.
Sure.
Yes.
But this was the one where this is the one where you could tell she was going to be She was going to be
yes.
big. Yeah.
And she did great. And the whole scene, like that laughter through tears is my favorite emotion. And like it's like, yes, it is. Like 100%, you know, and the way that these women all work together, it's a great movie. This is I used to cry at this movie. I don't anymore. I've been desensitized, but like I do. I love it.
This movie made $96.8 million in the box office. Pretty Woman, $463 million.
Yeah, no one's saying that.
No, no one's
I
saying
know.
that.
I'm just
Pretty
saying.
Woman
I'm just
wasn't
saying.
more of a commercial
That's
success.
fine. I'm just saying.
I bet if you were to Google like chick flicks, top chick flicks, this is on a lot of those lists.
Probably.
Just for
After
me.
I made my list, I did look at a couple of those. I don't remember though, because
this is a good movie. I've seen it a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's just a little slow.
Right.
So, but it's
Not as slow as Sleepless in Seattle.
No, but the thing is with Sleepless in Seattle though, Billy Crystal's dry humor kind of saves some of that. And this one, I just didn't have the same feel for me.
Billy Crystal
in Sleep. Oh, I'm sorry, Tom. Oh, I'm mixing up Sleepless in Seattle with Harry Met Sally.
Yeah.
No, yeah, you're right. I guess you're right. I don't know why.
Because Ashley has made it to the end of this movie. She didn't make it to the end of Sleepless in Seattle.
Yeah, I can't make it through that one. But no, this one I've watched repeatedly. I do like this one a lot. I watch it. So yay.
Okay. 4.
Easy yay.
We all love Emma Stone.
I know.
Okay, so I have a confession to make because I also looked at a couple of lists after I made my list.
After? Promise?
Yeah, it was after I made my list.
Is it?
And this came up on a bunch of them, and I don't think I've ever seen it.
I seriously love this movie. So this is like a modern take on The Scarlet Letter. And like her parents are like the best parents ever in the world. Like I actually quote this movie a lot. Like it's funny. I like this.
I remember the trailer to this, reading that bit right there. Is this where she's like in high school and everyone acts like she's a slut or whatever, and so she's pregnant? I don't remember what it was. Something like that.
So she was tired of like her friend giving her crap about like not having sex, and so she's like, okay, you're right, we did it, blah blah blah. And
that's what it was.
Yeah. And then but the issue is like the super churchy girl was in the bathroom and heard it and started spreading the rumor, and so now she's known as like the whore, you know. Right. And so she was like ride with it. She just went with it, and yeah, it's a really good movie.
Okay.
I love it. Yep.
Is it a love story? No, this is whatever your definition of this movie that you like to watch. So there we go.
So,
all right.
Crazy.
Holy crap. This movie came up on every list. That's all I'm saying. I've never seen it, and I know this was big when it came out. I needed to see it, but it came up everywhere.
I thought about this one, and it didn't make my list, but this is a great movie.
It's such a good movie.
Great movie. Yeah, I love this one. It makes me laugh a lot.
It's hilarious, and it has like some of the best gifts, you know, that there are now. You know.
Yeah. Oh man.
Stone again.
This movie is so funny, and I'll tell you, Tim, if you've never seen it, you gotta watch it. But the scene where they go and they meet the teacher, Ashley, when they go to meet the daughter's teacher.
Yeah.
Oh man, that whole scene is so great. Oh man, so funny.
This whole movie is great.
I don't want to spoil it for you, Tim, because there's some
I want to see it
stuff in it. Yeah, this is one I would say this is definitely a homework one for you.
Definitely. And like there's even like the whole like she wants to like mimic the Dirty Dancing like pose in the end.
Yeah, there's part of that too.
Yeah. So
there's Emma Stone, Marissa Tomei. I love Marissa.
Mm-hmm.
Guys can learn. I just want to say this. Ashley may not agree with this, but guys could learn a lot from Ryan Gosling's character on this.
Yeah.
He's got it down. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, but he has his problems. Like it's not working for him great either.
He definitely does. I'm just saying that, like, it. You know, there is merit to what he does in this.
This was pretty high on most of the lists, or people who were saying stuff to me. So this was pretty popular among chick flick lists. So,
I didn't even look up any other lists.
You don't need to. That's not the point. I was just curious if there was anything I needed for better runner-ups, and ones as I was going through that list, I thought of runner-ups that weren't on the list I was seeing. So it didn't change anything.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just fun. It's fun to look up lists after I always do my list first.
Yeah, I do mine too, and then I look to just see. Really, I'm looking to see if there's a movie.
Refine it.
Yeah, like if I forgot something, I'm like, I forgot that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, number 2.
Interesting. My number 2, Clueless.
Oh,
Which
look at
picked that for
that.
number 2. Did you guys notice that? Both of you had that for 2.
Yeah.
So
That's
both of
pretty
you, it's almost your favorite chick flick.
It
Yeah.
is. I love this movie.
So
All
good.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, we already talked about
We
it.
already talked about it.
Anything else? Okay. All right. Runners up for
My
Ashley.
number 1 Oh yeah, my runner-up. Sorry. So A Lot Like Love is definitely runner-up.
Never did.
It's hilarious. And
Another Ashton Kutcher.
and
So
Amanda
you and
Peet.
Josh.
They're
Terrible.
awesome. Their like
Yes.
chemistry in the movie is awesome. Do you guys not know this movie?
I've never seen it. Never
Is
heard of
this
it.
the one
Actually.
where he stands outside her oh, that was the other honorable mention I wanted to mention. But anyway, is this one where he stands outside and he plays I'll Be There For You on the guitar?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I've seen this one. This is a
Yeah.
good one.
It
Yeah.
is a good one. It's a really good one. And then the BBC Pride and Prejudice. Now, the reason why it's an honorable mention is because it's technically a mini series and not a movie because it's like 8 hours. So it's
Better
like,
than Persuasion, though?
oh yeah, this version,
Really?
Colin Firth and Jennifer Eel, like literally, it's like you're watching the book. Like it's. I read the book and I remember I had this movie. It's a mini series, but like I had this movie practically memorized because I had been seeing it ever since it came out in 1995. Like my mom would watch this all the time. And so when I finally read the book, I was like, this is just the script of the movie. I was like just so vivid in my head. So yeah, but their version is like a million times better than Keira Knightley's version. And I will fight to the death on that if anyone fights me on it. But like, yeah, their version is amazing. It's Colin Firth, Jennifer Eel. That is the version of Pride and Prejudice. The only version of Pride and Prejudice. And A Lot Like Love is adorable. I almost put like Whole 9 Yards because I love Amanda Peet, but then I was like,
I was just looking up who she was in it because I couldn't tell from that picture, and I don't know her name, but I love her in Whole 9 Yards, which is another great love story. Great movie.
It's a good one. Anyway.
So yeah. I like A Lot Like Love, but I just, again, for me it was like it was a situation where it's like rewatchability, and I don't think I watch that movie very often. Pride and Prejudice is good. I'm a Persuasion fan. It's my favorite.
I like Persuasion, but this is just
I've never seen them because I'm not a girl. No, I'm kidding. I know it's pretty. Those are popular. I know.
I'm surprised that nobody. This was an honorable mention I wanted to mention. I'm surprised nobody brought up Say Anything from the 80s. That movie is so good.
Say Anything is brought up in Easy A.
Ah, there you go.
She mentions all of like the great, excellent like 80s love movies and stuff in there.
Yeah, and Say Anything is just so good. And John Cusack is so good in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then the whole, the boombox over the head thing, and just so good. Anyway,
I thought that was from one of those Rat Pack movies, like Dirty Dancing or like 16 Candles or so. I thought that's when he held up the
Say Anything.
Well, it's what's his name? The director. It's the same director, John
Hughes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, it is a John. Okay, so I knew it was a John Hughes movie. Apparently.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
also recreated in Night at the Roxbury. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I never watched that because it was dumb. Okay.
Oh.
You haven't? Okay.
I tried watching it. And it was dumb. I was not interested. All right. Your number 1.
My number 1.
Can I just ask, how come you didn't put The Empire Strikes Back on your honorable mentions, either of you? That movie's like the ultimate.
You didn't put it on there either.
I know. I just was thinking about it. When Ashley was like, watching this was like reading the book, I was like, oh, just like Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, my gosh.
All right. Ashley's number 1.
My number 1, Tu Hong Fu.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my
I have never seen this.
I love this movie.
That's great.
Hey, what's great? What do you love? Snipes.
Okay.
Oh, another Patrick Swayze. He's popping up all over too.
Yes. Yeah. First of all, this movie, props to my mom, because when this was a new release at Blockbuster, right? I was in like a small town in like southern Utah, and like drag queens weren't necessarily like this thing, right? But like I loved them, and she let me rent this like every weekend. I don't know why she never bought it for me, but like I got to rent it every weekend for like once it got out. It's like a favorite movie. Not my favorite movie ever, but like it's definitely up there. I love this movie.
Really?
And Patrick Swayze can put on lipstick like the best person ever. I remember like watching it and like, if I could only do that, like it would be amazing. It has like the best like close up of him putting on lipstick and like whatever that is called. And it's like, dang it. It's like, yeah, they're amazing. And like the opening sequence of this with like the song Body Beautiful by Salt and Pepper is like the best opening scene like ever. And it's
better
like,
than my best friend's wedding. Impossible.
No, because I would never pull up Best Friend's Wedding just so I could get ready for school. Where I would pull this up just so I could have that song playing while I got ready for school.
Well, I listened to my opening of my best friend's wedding all throughout my shift at work. So there's that.
So have you ever seen the play Kinky Boots, Ashley?
I haven't. I really want to.
Oh yeah, I took my daughter to see that.
Was that?
I did not know what it was when I walked in.
Oh, that's hilarious.
We had a really fun conversation after. It was great. She really enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun. I just was like, I knew I got the tickets for free, and I went. I took her and I Googled it right before, and I was like, oh, this will be interesting. And then it was interesting, and she found it incredibly funny and incredibly good, and it did make for a good conversation afterwards about acceptance and loving people and all that, and it was really great. But yeah, I was just like surprised. I was like, that is a lot of drag queens in this. So
all right.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen that. So Ashley, which one is the one I should watch? Crazy Stupid Love? Is that your homework? I'll watch it.
I think you need to watch my entire list because I'm a chick and I decided.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, there's a lot.
When you sent me your list, because neither of you really had time to throw it together tonight. Both of you were like, "Oh, but you won't get a reaction." I'm like, "Oh, you'll probably get a reaction." But Ashley's, I didn't know what half of those were. I really didn't. I do want to watch. What was the Antonio Banderas one?
Take the lead.
Yeah, Take the Lead. I think for me, the only one that I think you really need to watch is Clueless. You have to watch Clueless.
I'll watch that, but that's for your list. But I'm gonna watch two of those. Actually, I'm gonna watch Take the Lead because I love dancing, and I do want to discuss if it's better than Footloose dancing because Footloose dancing is awesome. The remake. I love the first one. It's a completely different thing. But I'm talking about the remake for modern musicals or dance movies. Crazy Stupid Love, though. I'm gonna check that out because I love Steve Carell.
Yep, it's a great movie.
And he's good. He's very good in that movie.
Oh, too. Very good.
Better than 40-year-old version. That's like my favorite.
It's a different movie. It's more. He plays this one more straight. Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, if you guys watched all the way through this, that's awesome. We just hit the 2-hour mark, but you know what? Our top 7 lists are always going to be longer episodes because that's 7, 14, 24. No, 21. 21.
plus the 17 honorable mentions that Tim had.
And those don't take a long time, but it takes time to go through those, and we're going to do our regular thing. But it doesn't matter. This is a podcast format, a little longer, and normal episodes, we're just doing a review or a discussion on something. Won't be as long, but hey, if you guys like our opinions and like our show, then that's why you sat around and watched the whole thing. So thanks for doing that. And if we missed any critical according to your definition, chick flicks, then tell us in the comments below which ones you liked that we missed or which ones we didn't miss that you liked. Tell us either of those two things. But thanks for watching, and we're going to start pushing, liking, and subscribing all this stuff because we want to get YouTube on the with some momentum on the move. That's what I was trying to say. So anyway, before we head out, Ashley, Josh, any final thoughts?
Braveheart is not a chick flick.
No.
Ashley, you're a chick. Do you enjoy watching the movie Braveheart?
Yeah, but
I rest my case. All right. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time on Saints on Cinema. See ya.
Counts.